2 glasses of milk, please. 2 glasses of milk, please.
We don't have milk, sir.
Oh, just
have water, juices.
All right, Diet Coke?
Yeah, we have Diet Coke.
I'll do one of those.
Just one of those?
Yeah.
It's $4.
Forget it.
Johnston connects. This is way back. It's another Brody bomb off of Memorial. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my. Almost broke a window over at Memorial. Holy smokes. You saw Nelson at second base instantly put up the hands.
I want all the smoke.
Welcome back into the Door Report, and welcome back into episode 306 on a lovely Monday evening, March 10th, 2025. I am Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squat Jim Duggan. We are also joined early in this episode, who just hopped up on the table that's already crashed on us once before we even started recording, by our producer Phoebe. Phoebe, say hi to the people. Thank you.
I think she did give a
Gave a little look to the people.
She's like, I'm just going to rub up on this Zach Cunningham game-used helmet.
Perfect. Here at the Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, individual cards, graded cards, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. You can check out 615 Collectibles on eBay by typing in 615 Collectibles in the eBay search bar. Or you can just go to www.ebay.com/str/615collectibles. Trevor, intro's getting longer every day.
It is.
We have a lot to get to on episode 306. We have baseball talk, including a little bit of a bounce back 4-game stretch for the VandyBoys. Every moment I'm almost out, they pull me back.
Oh, they pull me back.
But a majority of this episode, rightfully so, is going to be dedicated to Vanderbilt basketball, as we have the SEC tournament approaching very quickly. Wednesday, March 12th, the SEC tournament begins in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. The Vanderbilt Commodores are taking on the Texas Longhorns in round 1 after a disappointing, we'll call it, last 2 games of the season, even though I think some Vanderbilt fans are getting things confused that just because they beat 2 teams you weren't expecting them to beat in the last 4, that doesn't make it a bad last 4 stretch. Overall, the end of the season was still successful.
Yeah.
It's just you closed out losing to 2 teams that maybe you shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, you would have liked to have won.
You definitely would have liked to have won one of those, but it was 2 teams, and we'll discuss this more, that had their backs up against the wall. And you talked about it. We both talked about it last episode. You used the phrase, there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal.
Yeah.
And that's what Vanderbilt found out. Vanderbilt was no longer the cornered animal. And they played 2 teams in Arkansas and Georgia that were fighting for their proverbial seasons and their proverbial lives.
Yeah.
So
they were. Yeah.
But Trevor, we have to talk about it early because it's been a tragic prep for this episode. We're going to have to get a new table. People have seen the table collapse. The table collapsed pre-show again.
Yep.
Show the people what has happened to one of our poor bobbleheads.
Kyle Wright lost his arm. It is his non-throwing arm, so likely can rule out UCL or Tommy John needed, but his non-throwing arm is gone. So just and so here's his arm. So I have a bad track record with Vanderbilt bobbleheads. I want to make it known I did not break this in a fit of rage, like I have done a previous bobblehead. Rather, this was a mere accident. But thankfully, it was a clean snap. We have some glue. We will glue Kyle's non-throwing arm back on. So no harm, no foul.
Yeah, for the audio listeners, the Kyle Wright bobblehead that is normally placed on our table alongside a multitude of other bobbleheads.
Yes.
Kyle Wright is missing his left arm.
Yeah.
And all the other bobbleheads are not on the table because thankfully they avoided getting broken in the table fall, and we're not risking Sonny Gray and Jay Cutler for this. So that's why our setup is just helmets. Because the helmets can take a fall.
Yeah, indeed.
The bobbleheads can.
The beer can will be fine.
We can get another beer can if needed. If this helmet breaks, then we know why Vanderbilt struggled in the Derek Mason era.
Yeah.
So I think we're good to go. But Trevor, I've got to ask this. We haven't asked it in a couple episodes. There's a lot going on. So this could go a lot of directions. What's the vibe right now? What's the vibe check? Trevor
Interesting
Hulan
time to
vibe
ask.
check.
Interesting time to ask. I believe last time you asked me, I had it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I'm going to go back down to – I'm going to go to a 6.5. I'm going to go to a 6.5 because even though they just got a good sweep against Xavier, the Xavier Musketeers out of Cincinnati, Ohio, I'm still not super high on this baseball team. They could prove me wrong. And even though I am high on Vanderbilt basketball going into tournament play, drop 2 games that you really would have liked to see them at least take one, preferably that Arkansas game, just because it was the last game of Memorial. I'd like to win that last home game, but drop 2 of those, not ideal. Vibes are still relatively high, but not as high as they have been.
Yeah, I think I don't do the official vibe check, so 6.5 is the official vibe score. I would put mine at a 7 right now.
Okay.
I'm not, from the beginning, haven't been quite as negative on baseball. We don't have a wide disparity in how we view the team. I don't think that they've done enough to completely get all the Vanderbilt baseball doubters out of their doubting era.
Yeah.
But I think they've done enough to still make the NCAA tournament this year. I think this team is slightly improved from last year. You think they're slightly worse. So that's me and Trevor slightly.
Yeah.
But also, I just think the vibe is being bumped down too much because of those 2 games. The vibe would be so high up if Vanderbilt had lost to A&M and Missouri and then beat Arkansas and Georgia. But their resume is better because they beat A&M and Missouri and lost to Georgia and Arkansas.
Really good point.
I'm bumping it up a half point higher, but I fully understand why it's at 6.5.
Ask me Wednesday. After Wednesday, I'll give you a good vibe check.
Okay, that'll be a good one. We have a lot to get to in episode 306. We will be starting with premium member questions, premium board questions.
Premium content.
Premium content.
Subscribe at $3 for $3.99 for Will Byrum feet picks next week.
That's close to what I'm talking about. Before we get into all that,
Frida's boss really wants them.
Yeah.
Shout out Frida's.
There we go. Before we get into segment 1, we are now a part of the Rivals Publisher Network. You can actually visit now because it's finally updated, finally figured out. You can visit www.thedoorreport.com.
Oh, what?
And it will automatically redirect you to our vanderbilt.rivals.com
I
site.
didn't even know that.
So you can just visit thedoorreport.com and you will be on our new website. Please subscribe to a monthly or an annual subscription and support TDR. Use code DOORREPORT, all capital letters, no spaces, for a 30-day, no-risk free trial. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. I have been currently posting for like the last 2.5 weeks on Instagram. That will continue. We are trying to actually grow Instagram for the first time in the history of TDR. So follow us on Instagram. It's the same as our Twitter handle at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes. Yes, Trevor.
I will say before we go out of the intro, you trying on Instagram is very admirable because Twitter is a space that was created for us type of people. You know, funny, clever, ingenious men that are very witty in terms of written content. Instagram was made for influencers and pretty women. Both of which we are not. We are pretty men, but we are not pretty women. And pretty men don't play as well as pretty women in terms of the Instagram algorithm.
Also, this is the other part of Instagram. I didn't know we were going to be talking about it like this.
Oh, so I just wanted to say, we're trying to find our niche in a world that is not meant for us, that is Instagram. We're trying to find our way.
Yeah, the intro's getting longer by the day. But the tough part with Instagram is to actually take advantage of the Instagram algorithm. You have to create content that at the core of me as a human being, I despise, which is like self-created clips of like yourself talking.
Yeah.
I hate that. I don't like that. So
like a lot of self-grandeur.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like making yourself look very professional. And it's like you can instantly draw someone in 5 seconds. Look at our setup.
And it just makes you cringe. You're like, I don't want to do this.
It's inauthentic.
Yeah.
Instagram is inauthentic at its core. So we're trying to carry over the TDR Twitter experience onto Instagram, doing my best at graphic design. It's not great.
Graphic design is his passion.
It is my burning passion is graphic design. But yeah, check us out on Instagram. But Trevor, it's now time for segment 1.
You said you were gonna ride with me, and you didn't. I am March. I am March.
You haven't taken any of my.
I am March. Come on.
Welcome back into segment 1 of episode 306 of the Door Report. Trevor, we're starting it off first with premium basketball questions from behind closed doors. Visit thedoorreport.com, our new and updated, new and improved website through the Rivals Publisher Network, and subscribe to a premium membership. It's so affordable, only $9.95 a month.
Yeah.
Or you can buy an annual subscription, or you can use code Door Report.
I was going to say you could use the code.
All capital letters, no spaces, Door Report for a 30-day no-risk-free trial. And you can hear your questions read on the Door Report podcast, because that's what everyone wants.
Everybody wants to be featured on the Door Report podcast.
So let's get to, we have some baseball questions, but we're going to do the basketball questions first. We'll do baseball questions after the cocktail break. Basketball questions. I posted this late again, so we don't have as many as usual. But here we go. Maybe that'll be our new running joke. Is I always say I'm going to post it earlier, and I always forget to post it until Monday when we record. First question from Arlen is, what should the men's basketball program look for in the transfer portal this offseason?
A big.
Yes. Also, Kajani Wright will be back.
Yes. You still need another big.
And they need, this is one, a big is number 1. Number 2 is they're losing AJ Hogard. They need a point guard.
They need a primary ball handler.
They need a primary ball handler. Jason Edwards is a point guard, but he's not a primary ball handler type point guard. Tyler Tanner's going to be a sophomore. He's going to go through the sophomore slump, struggles, whatever it is. He cannot be your primary ball handler next year. He's also undersized, just like Jason Edwards. Yeah. You can't be running 2 guards at sub 6 foot. I know what they're listed at. I played cornhole next to Jason Edwards. I am 3 inches taller than Jason Edwards. I'm 6 feet tall. Okay, they're undersized. So they need another guard like Hogard. I know it's easy to hate on Hogard. They need someone that's like a 6'3", 6'4" primary ball handler. So that's going to be my
preferably
number
somebody
one
that can finish at the bucket.
Yes. What AJ Hogard was supposed to be and has shown flashes of being, but has not been consistently, is what they need to find. And Hogard graduating is going to free up some capital for that.
And some is putting it lightly.
Yes.
It's going to free up a lot of capital.
I believe that we'll never get confirmation. I believe the highest paid player on the roster.
Yes.
So obviously you can't confirm that. Anchor Impact, we'll never know for sure. We know.
Yeah.
Another baseball question. Then we have, another basketball. How many wins do we get in the SEC tournament, boys? They said my prediction is 3.
I am going to go 2. I think Vanderbilt wins against Texas on Wednesday, and I think Vanderbilt also wins against Texas A&M on Thursday. I could see them getting 3. I think all they need is 2, not for seeding, not to secure their place in the tournament because it's already secured, simply for momentum building and going into March Madness. I would like to see them get 2. Just build up some confidence after 2 rough losses, get 2 wins in the tournament, get some things cooking. So I'll go 2. Because I think if they go Friday, I think that's against Tennessee.
Yes, so Vanderbilt plays in the first round, not where you really were hoping they would be sitting at a 12 seed. It's not where you were hoping. They face Texas in the first round. That's a quality opponent to be facing. They've already beaten Texas. I think they do win the round 1 matchup. There is a real part of me. I'm not putting a lot of money on it. So I'm not super confident in that because Vanderbilt basically has the proverbial monkey off their back. And I will try to make that the last usage of proverbial because I've already used it twice in 20 minutes. So I'll try to make that my last usage of that word. But Vanderbilt doesn't have the pressure of they have to win to get in. Texas kind of does. Texas has that theoretical thought in their mind. I hate that I just said theoretical thought, but they have that thought in their mind. So that one scares me. I do not think they will beat Texas A&M. I think that Texas A&M is a superior team. Vanderbilt just beat Texas A&M in surprising fashion. I don't think that'll happen twice.
Okay.
So I'm going to go, they'll have 1 win. It would not shock me if they're 1 in barbecue. I know that doesn't rhyme like 2 in barbecue, but it wouldn't shock me if they lose to Texas. However, unlike a lot of pessimistic Vanderbilt fans, they're still in the tournament.
They could lose against Texas.
Yeah, nothing will now seeding. Maybe it could adjust, but they're in the tournament. If they miss the tournament, TDR is ready to riot because we'll discuss this in a sec. Why not discuss it now? Vanderbilt's worst loss this season is Drake.
Yeah.
And Drake is finished the season 31-3,
Mm-hmm.
winning the MVC in
One of the best teams in mid-major basketball.
dominant fashion. They flashed Drake's tournament resume. Drake's best win this season is Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
But Drake dominated a very good mid-major conference that Belmont's in. I believe Bradley's in, a very good conference. And Drake
Murray
just
State
obliterated the competition.
Yeah.
Drake is a good basketball team. What was viewed as a bad loss maybe at the time, even though we didn't think it was, some fans did, was not a bad loss.
No.
And Drake's Vanderbilt's worst loss this season.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so confident they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they've got the good wins. They have no bad losses.
Mm-hmm.
And their resume speaks for itself. If Vanderbilt gets left out, there's a problem with the committee.
Yeah.
They didn't value how good the SEC was. So I don't care what happens. Vanderbilt is in. I feel like that's a very common take.
Yeah.
That's nothing groundbreaking.
Vanderbilt is a lock.
All right, so let's go to the next question. So I said 1 win, you said 2, because yes, they would face Tennessee if they beat Texas and then Texas A&M. They would then face Tennessee. A lot of T's. Next question: are we allowed to blame the shit lighting at UGA for the loss? I honestly want to know why it looked like that.
It looked. We're not allowed to blame the loss on that. It looked terrible. First off, the lighting is bad. Second off, that is a hideous court. That gray, like millennial hardwood. Oh, dude, that basketball court is objectively disgusting.
Yeah, regardless, I tweeted immediately when I saw it, and because I felt this for a long time, I said Georgia has the ugliest court in the SEC.
Not even close.
And that's unrelated to the lighting. I hate gray
I
courts.
hate the gray court.
I hate it so much. I hate the big dog they have in darker gray.
God. It's not even half court.
Yeah,
it's like damn near like a third of the
it's
court.
Just an ugly court.
Yeah.
And then I will say some of the blame is on Georgia for whatever ads they had reflecting. ESPN had adjusted the contrast or something.
They did.
Dude,
the cameras.
it was partially on Georgia just has an ugly court.
Yeah.
But the other side is ESPN had adjusted something because the reflection of the ads, which is a problem since LED ads have been invented. You can see the reflection on Vandy's court too. They adjusted because they had a Regions Green ad at Georgia, and the reflection on the court was yellow.
Yeah.
And so then it made the whole court look kind of green.
Yeah.
So part of it was because Georgia has an ugly court, but what the hell, ESPN?
Yeah.
What are you doing? But yeah, you can't blame the loss on that.
No.
Damn, it is ugly.
But it's objectively hideous. Yes.
The next question kind of leads directly off what we were talking about with snubs, and said, are y'all old enough to remember getting snubbed in 2000? And do we riot if it happens this year?
So I don't know about you. I don't remember it. So I just turned 28 last week or a couple weeks ago. Not old enough to remember that, but I do pride myself on being a Vanderbilt historian, and my father definitely remembers that, and my father has definitely told me about that. Do you know anything about that snub?
No.
Oh, dude. So
I've heard that in the annals of Vanderbilt history about the snub.
So for like 2 months straight, Vanderbilt was a top 25 team, had a really good resume. They had beaten multiple top 15 teams. Tennessee was a top 5 team that year. They beat Tennessee, beat like a top 15 team, had a really good resume. And I think back then they were still using RPI. And if I'm correct, Vanderbilt had like a top 40 RPI. Something happened. Now, this is where my memory fails me. Something happened in the SEC tournament to where I think Arkansas won the SEC tournament, and they weren't planning on putting Arkansas in. But since they got the automatic qualifier, they had to put them in. So they just bumped out Vanderbilt. And if I remember correctly, it wasn't just Vanderbilt fans that were like, this is a disgrace. It was like on ESPN Selection Sunday, like the national media on the ESPN desk was like, this is a sham. Like, this is an objective flaw in the system.
So
on behalf of Vanderbilt.
So that's what I had heard about 2000. So I didn't know all the
Kevin Stallings' first year.
Yeah. So a lot of what I had heard, which is honestly why I usually do not read these questions beforehand, but I had to but I had to scroll down and say we are 100% recording tonight, so these questions will be read tonight. And I read this, and it's what made me want to bring this up is the one thing that scares me, which is why I think there are pessimistic Vanderbilt fans basketball fans about them making the tournament is because of that.
Yeah.
Is because they are afraid.
They witnessed it.
They are afraid that something weird can happen in the tournament. Let's say a team like Texas wins it, or LSU,
Or South Carolina.
And then let's say the committee is like, we're not putting 14 teams from one conference.
Or
in.
15, maybe
Yeah,
even 15.
and so that's what concerns me is the committee willing to set a record? Because if Vanderbilt loses in, let's say, blowout fashion to Texas, that's what would give me pause.
Yeah.
So I still think they're a lock. We do riot, like the question asked, if they don't make it.
If we do we riot if that happens?
Yes.
Pitchforks,
Yes.
things on fire,
Yes.
burning buildings.
Let's do it. Okay, I don't think we can legally say that. No, pause.
That was parody. That was
Allegedly,
parody.
that was parody.
Allegedly, that was parody.
Blake, that was parody.
That was parody,
Our
Blake.
lawyer, that was parody. But yes, we do riot because Vanderbilt.
We
should be
allegedly
allowed.
riot.
Because theoretically, the whole idea of ending hot or ending cold is supposed to not be a thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be gone. And
the committee's like, we don't really value what happens in conference tournaments.
And they have clearly set the precedent that conference tournaments truly don't matter that much.
Which is bullshit, because they definitely do.
But they're just part of the overall resume. And if you look at Vanderbilt's overall resume, they're a tournament team. So
Absolutely.
yes, we do need to riot.
What a callback, Lord.
I was 2.5 years old when that
Could you imagine if we were like alive and we had Twitter when that happened? Dude, like you and me? Oh, dude, I think we would have driven to the NCAA headquarters. I think we would have. We would have packed in the car and been like,
where are the NCAA headquarters?
I think like Illinois.
Okay.
I don't know. That could be totally wrong.
You shake my hand on this?
Shake your hand.
We're shaking it right now.
You can see it on camera.
You're seeing it on camera if you're watching video. If Vanderbilt does not make the NCAA tournament, me and Trevor will pack up his Santa Fe.
Yep.
And we are driving to the NCAA headquarters.
Yep.
And we're going to picket for a full 24 hours.
Yep.
Okay.
On camera.
Everybody out there, we're going to
we'll live stream it.
Live stream it if they get snubbed from the tournament.
Deal.
We're doing that for you, Mark.
Yep.
For Mark, we're putting that promise out there. We will create
Who
a
asked
scene.
that?
GL.
GL's the homie.
Yes.
We'll do that for you and Mark. We'll do it for all Vandy
We're doing
fans.
it for Jason, Jalen, Chris Magnon,
dude.
Tyler Nickel,
Glock,
MJ Collins. Who are we forgetting?
Glock,
Grant
Huffman, Tyler Tanner, Miles Keith,
Yep.
Alex Hemway,
Williams, number 21, the son of the strength coach that's yoked, that sits on the bench.
Yes.
We're doing it for all.
JQ Roberts.
All the assistant coaches.
Yep.
We will pick it and we will make it a scene and we will hope to be picked up nationally. That will be our pledge to you, Vanderbilt fans.
Yep.
We will be your voice. Let's hope that doesn't happen because I don't really have many vacation days left. Because I just have to take a trip to Seattle. But
it'll be unpaid.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, but we would have to do it. But I think Vanderbilt's a lock. So
yeah.
Let's get to why Vanderbilt is not 100% a lock in that they lost to two teams that were on the edge of the NCAA tournament on the bubble in their final two games. After Vanderbilt secured their spot, winning 2 straight games against top 15 opponents and 3 straight games against top 25 opponents. They then stumbled down the stretch. Vanderbilt at home, senior night, had Arkansas, lost 90-77. At half, Arkansas was up 43-37, basically kind of played out that same way. It was kind of a reality check. Arkansas is a very, very talented team.
They were so athletic.
That has underperformed all season. It's basically Kentucky's roster from last year. Almost.
They're so athletic.
They're very athletic. They've underperformed. They're clicking at the right time, and they were playing for their lives.
Yeah.
And you felt it. And Vanderbilt, you could feel it regardless. Vanderbilt felt a little bit like they'd secured their spot.
They felt lackadaisical.
That's a human reaction. And it's a coach that for the first time in his coaching career, really, it's not the first time he's been in the tournament or been a coach of a good tournament team. It's the first time he's been securely in. And his team has not the motivating factor of, we got to win to be in.
You got to survive in advance.
Yeah, this is the first time in his coaching career, the first time for all of these players except AJ Hogarth. Like you pointed out, this is the first time for them in this situation, and they didn't react well. So I think that's a good lesson in and of itself, is they did not react well, but at least they gave themselves breathing room.
Yeah.
And that's the big part. So we won't dig into this game too much because it happened, is what it is. Vanderbilt got beat, and Vanderbilt was a heavy favorite.
Yeah.
They were like a 6.5 point favorite going in. I'll go through the box score if you think we need to.
We can if you want.
Yeah, we'll run through it. On the Arkansas side, Jonell Davis, 21 points. He was dominant. Trevon Brazil, is that how you pronounce it? He was dominant.
He pissed me off.
He battled foul trouble all game, but had 14 rebounds, 16 points, even battling a little bit of foul trouble. They just dominated. Arkansas, by the way, Byington, I just want to point this out. Arkansas played 7 guys. You can do that. By the way, you can have a 7-man rotation.
Mm-hmm.
That happens late in the year. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Did Arkansas do any defensive, offensive subs?
That feels like a thing you more do earlier in the season to feel out your roster, and then you really tighten the rotation to 7, maybe 8 guys late. Mark, we got to tighten that rotation. I know some of this was due to foul trouble in the Arkansas game, so it's not just the Arkansas game.
You saw JQ early.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys in foul trouble. McLaughlin ended up fouling out. Chris Magnon was in foul trouble. AJ Hogard was in foul trouble. It was a foul trouble mess.
Yeah.
So, but on the Vanderbilt side, 16 points from Tyler Nickel, only 2 points from Jason Edwards.
Yeah.
That was... I'm trying to think of a way to bring this, because when was it that I brought up the thing about Vanderbilt can win with their tertiary players playing well? What game was that?
A&M.
Was that A&M?
A&M, I believe.
Yeah, it was Chris Magnon and Nickel and those guys.
And Huffman had a decent game, if I recall.
The hard part is you cannot win with Jason Edwards having 2 points.
Yeah.
That's the other side. Is at number 1 is Edwards can't have 2 points. That was his second lowest scoring output of the season. The only time he scored not double digits when he hasn't been coming off a major injury. Edwards just didn't have it.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that he just needed a game where he didn't have it and he got it out during the regular season.
Well, he did, because he went and balled. We'll get to Georgia. He went and balled out against Georgia.
Yep. He was 0 for 12 from the field, got it out of his system. That's all we can say. McLaughlin battled foul trouble, only 3 rebounds, 12 points. AJ Hogard actually had a pretty good game, 14 points. MJ Collins Jr., 10 points. Getting to the Georgia game, another road matchup. Vanderbilt, we know, has struggled on the road, especially in the second halves on the road. Vanderbilt has struggled. That reared its ugly head.
Yep.
Vanderbilt at half against Georgia was tied 39-39. Second half, Georgia dominated. Georgia won the second half 40-29, final score 79-68. Georgia was in the exact same situation, and Brazil was not in foul trouble. I got that confused with this game. Brazil was not in foul trouble. He just dominated.
Number 14 for Georgia.
Newell was in foul trouble. My bad, guys. Apologies. But yeah, this was another game plagued by foul trouble. And this hurt Vanderbilt even more because they were undermanned. Huffman and MJ Collins were both out. AJ Hogard got 3 fouls early in the game. That's brutal when 2 of your backup guards are out, especially your 2 backup guards that have size.
And that are good on defense.
That's the problem, is Huffman and MJ Collins are the 2 backup guards with size, and Georgia has size. I believe they're 18th or 28th in the country in average height on their roster, and we all know that's Vanderbilt's weakness.
Yeah.
And having your 2 6'4" guards that come off the bench puts you in a bad spot.
Brutal.
So that was a big reality check between the Arkansas and Georgia games that Vanderbilt was riding real high. Need to focus back in. You got to play your best ball to beat anybody. Vanderbilt's not good enough to coast in and beat a solid team. They're just not. Getting to this game, Jason Edwards had a real bounce back game. 8 of 10 from the free throw line, 24 points overall. Chris Magnon with 10 points, battled foul trouble all game. Jalen Carey with 10 points wasn't a huge contributor, not a great matchup for him, to be honest. Devin McLaughlin fouled out again, only 7 points, 8 rebounds. AJ Hogard, foul trouble, 2 points, 0 for 9 from the field. Bad game from Hogard, just to be frank.
Couldn't hit the broadside of
Tyler Nickel, I wanted to bring him up.
Yeah.
Because there was no question about this. I really thought the premium board subscribers would ask this. Tyler Nickel's intermittent involvement in the offense is the only thing. People will talk about lineups, and I do have issues with Byington's lineups. I do. I've stated them. Sometimes he has lineups that just can't score, but I think a lot of that can be contributed to guys cannot play 40 minutes, and you just have a lot of guys on this roster that wouldn't be playing if he had a full year to recruit his guys in. It is what it is.
Yeah.
The one thing that he can control, Tyler Nickel needs plays drawn up for him early in games.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to just get involved shooting the ball when the flow of the game gets to him. He needs to have plays drawn up.
He needs to be a focal point.
He's a game changer when he is hitting shots. You saw that, I think it was A&M.
A&M.
Oh no, there goes the can.
Oh Lord.
But
Mizzou.
you saw it. He's a game changer. He cannot be shooting 4 threes.
Yep, I agree.
He needs to be putting up 5+ threes minimum a game.
Yep.
And a lot of those need to be happening early to see if he's clicking.
I agree.
Because if he hits shots early, it opens up everything
Mm-hmm.
for everyone on the court. Hogard, it opens up everything for him. Driving, addition, Carey, McLaughlin, Edwards on those drives. The 4 men can't help over because nickel plays 4. So that's my main frustration with Byington is you have a weapon in nickel. More plays need to be drawn up for him.
Yep.
Edwards is going to get his shots.
I agree.
He handles the ball a lot. You don't need to worry about that with Edwards. Nickel can just disappear.
Yeah.
He can just be non-existent for 20 minutes and then have a stretch where he's the most key player on the court for 4 minutes, and then you don't hear from him again.
Yeah.
You need to draw up plays for him because teams will try to take him out of the game, and he's not going to get open in your normal offense. You got to draw up sets for him. So Byington is not a huge set guy. He's not. But you got to get shots for Nickel. So that's my main criticism in these last 2 games is Tyler Nickel needs to be more involved in the offense.
I totally agree. And when Tyler Nickel's on, Vanderbilt doesn't lose.
Yep.
We like to talk, and I am probably not the leader of the Vanderbilt, of the Jason Edwards fan club. That'll probably be Miller McKee. But I would like to say that I'm a close second. I love Jason Edwards. Whenever Tyler Nickel is on, I don't think it really matters who else is on. If Tyler Nickel's on, Vanderbilt is going to win.
Well, Tyler Nickel, and I mean this with zero disrespect to Miles Studi, Tyler Nickel is what Miles Studi should have been. Tyler Nickel can change the game in a way, and this is why I love shooters, okay? It's what I was, maybe a little biased, but shooters change the defense the team is playing, and you don't even see it in the X's and O's, and if you're not looking for it, because they can't help off their man. And there are very, very few shooters that are red, meaning you don't leave them for help responsibilities. When Jason Edwards is cooking and when Tyler Nickel is cooking, 0 other players on this roster demand that. MJ Collins can get hot. He doesn't demand it. That's not on the scouting report. And Jason Edwards, I think they're almost a little more lenient on because he's such a guard involved in it. Tyler Nickel, they are playing red.
They're like, you got to be on his hip at all times.
And if Vanderbilt's not going to involve him, they ease off of that. And so you've got to see more Nickel,
crash the boards more,
especially in tournaments. Exactly. And that's why you see such good offensive rebounding from McLaughlin and Carey, because they can't crash the same way because they're outguarding Nickel on the perimeter.
Yeah, they don't have a 2-man zone on the boards.
Exactly. So that's an obvious one, I think. Maybe it's not, but I think a lot of Vanderbilt fans are clamoring for it. I just haven't seen a lot of tweets about it. I haven't seen a lot of articles about it. It's just Nickel is just randomly involved, and he'll just go 7 of 10 from 3, and then next game he'll put up 3 threes, and you don't know why. Well, that's the recap for basketball of what Vanderbilt has done. We talked about the SEC tournament. Vanderbilt has Texas on the horizon. But in the new format of the SEC tournament, there's no first 4 play-in games, whatever. 16 teams. Double bye would have been nice. Some teams still have a double bye. Trevor, we talked about it before. We're not going to predict game by game because that without graphics on the screen, that would get real messy real quick and we'd forget where we were. But we're going to discuss who we think is going to win the SEC tournament. We talked about how far we thought Vanderbilt would get. Trevor, who is your pick to win the tournament and why?
Before we say that, I'll say that I think Vanderbilt could make a run. I will say it is it's basically impossible to win 5 straight ball games back to back to back. That is so tough on a basketball player. Like, that is so much to ask for. So I think it's going to be one of those teams with the double bye or a team that just has a single bye. I think my picks are obviously Auburn because I think they're the best basketball team in America. My sleeper, though, is I think Florida, because I think Florida winning the championship gives them an opportunity to snag that last 1 seed. Additionally, I think Tennessee is a sleeper because if they win, that also gives them an opportunity to snag that 1 seed. And thirdly, I'm going to go Alabama. So I'm going to go Alabama, Florida, Tennessee. I think Auburn is the runaway, but I think those 3 teams are very interesting because if they win the tournament or at least make it, I think they lock up that 4th number 1 seed, which is very crucial.
So who's your final pick?
My final pick is I'll go Auburn, but that's so
Auburn?
chalk. I think I think they're the best team in the nation.
Okay.
I think Auburn's that good.
So Trevor's prediction is Auburn. but he's interested in the
Florida
other.
would be my number 2.
Okay, so he's interested in the others. Trevor, we have different picks.
You don't think Auburn's going to win
No.
it? Oh, really?
So we talked about this before, but Auburn is a number 1 seed no matter what.
The number 1 seed.
We all know Bruce Pearl is a win at all costs kind of guy.
Mhm.
So this is my kind of pause. I'm not 100% confident in this. But there is real validity behind a team not really showing all its cards, quote unquote. Basketball's different than football.
Yeah.
But not putting their full gas or, pressing the gas pedal down to the floorboard in Auburn. They're a number 1. Everybody knows they're the best team in the country, basically.
Yeah.
It's almost unanimous.
Yeah.
They are the proverbial. I used it again. They are the. I pause. I'm not using proverbial. They are the number 1 betting favorite to win the NCAA tournament. Their goal this year is not to win an SEC championship. It's to win a national championship. I don't think that team wins this tournament this year. I think one of those 3 teams you talked about is interesting is who is going to win it. Looking at this bracket, I think it's going to be Florida. However, my prediction is still Alabama.
Okay.
I'm going Alabama. So I do not like how the bracket plays out for Alabama. They have the toughest potential second-round matchup. They're playing the winner of Kentucky, who plays the winner Kentucky versus the winner of Oklahoma, Georgia. So I think that will be Kentucky. That's the toughest matchup after that. If they win that one, I think Alabama wins it all. They're coming off a disgusting defeat against Tennessee. Gross. Towards the end of the season that almost knocked them off that 1 tier or 1 seed line. If they win the tournament, whichever one of those wins the tournament, I think locks up that last number 1 seed.
They did get a big bounce back against Auburn.
They did.
Great ball game, too.
But exactly, they got the bounce back. They're coming in with momentum. The matchup is tough, but I think Alabama's the second best team in the SEC. And I think they have – I know that's over Florida.
Over Florida?
Yeah.
Oh.
But this is my opinion.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
not
Yeah,
like how I'm talking about Auburn, that it's fully accepted.
There's debate amongst
Yeah,
that.
this is
I just
big
think that's
debate.
interesting.
Yeah, Florida's seeded higher. I think Alabama's better. They're
I do
veteran
like Mark
with
Sears.
So one of my main things I look for in tournament basketball play, we all know did I already go on this rant about basketball being a tournament sport?
Not yet. No, you haven't. Not yet.
Yeah, basketball's a tournament sport. So regular season is great, but it's not like football. Basketball's a tournament sport. You have to be built for tournaments. What do you look for in tournament teams? Experienced post play. Teams that control the pace of play, not necessarily fast or slow. And I prefer fast teams. Fast teams that control the pace of play. Tennessee's the opposite. They have veteran guards, and they want slow pace of play.
Yeah.
A&M, veteran guards, slow pace of play. Alabama wants to pick it up a little bit with veteran guards. Auburn plays at a fast pace too. So I think Alabama, with their experience, they're a very intriguing team for me. But Florida's my number 2. Tennessee's my number 3. Auburn's my number 4.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if Auburn wins it.
Yeah, I can see that.
But not because I don't think they're the best team in the SEC. Just because the mindset going in for them is going to be different, especially with Janai Broom already having injury issues. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays limited minutes.
Yeah.
This is a hot take. They won't announce it. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays 5 to 10 minutes below his season average in this tournament.
Who knows? Chad Baker-Mazara might assault the person again.
He might.
So he might get ejected again.
He's been getting a lot of hate.
I hate him. So I will say, and this will be the last thing I say in the tournament, I think a team, I don't think they'll win the championship. I think a team that plays that first day that could make it to Saturday, I'm not going to say Vanderbilt. Mississippi State really intrigues me because I think the dentist is a good coach, and I think Josh Hubbard is a dog, and I think he's the type of guy that can single-handedly take over games and win games by himself.
I was very impressed with Mississippi State's length on defense and their ability on help and just
They're
shutting
so good
off drives
on defense.
and Hubbard and and they also have Missouri in the second round. If they can get past Florida, they're a dark horse.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying they'll make it to Sunday just because, like I said, for Vanderbilt, dude, it is
tough.
5
Tough.
back-to-back games. That's basically impossible. They
Every-
don't even do that in the NBA.
Every single one of them against quality opponents.
Yes.
That's the tough part
Yep.
too. But yeah, if I'm picking one, I would say either Mississippi State or Arkansas, because Arkansas has favorable matchups. But South Carolina scares me as a team that's going to come out with their hair on fire day one.
And they're like, we have nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing
That's
to
a
lose,
dangerous
everything
team.
to win.
Exactly. So, and they're not a bad team. They've had a bad year, but talent-wise, they're probably a middle of the pack every other team in the
I
every
think
other
they
conference.
lead the nation in one possession losses.
Brutal. Brutal SEC this year, but it's going to be a fun-ass tournament to
Yeah.
watch. I wish I hadn't – well, I'm very glad I used my vacation days to see my best friend in Seattle, but I wish I had vacation days to take off and go to the SEC tournament in Bridgestone. Unfortunately, I'll be watching on TV.
Hey,
So,
well, hopefully Vanderbilt makes it to Saturday.
let's hope.
Let's
And
hope.
then I can go attend. But actually, it's my little brother's birthday weekend, so I will be. And he just
Drew to
he just moved.
Bridgestone.
He just moved to Chattanooga.
Tell him to come up here and watch
Yeah,
the game.
unfortunately. So I will probably not be able to attend. We will see.
Well, let's hope they make it this Sunday then.
But it's going to be a hell of a weekend, and we're about to get to the best time of the year.
Truly is the best time of the year.
Best
Sporting
season,
event of the year.
best season is football season. The best stretch of sports is
March
August. August to December is the best long-term stretch. The best event is conference tournaments into March Madness.
I agree.
Hands down.
I'll say this. March Madness is the best postseason event in all sports, college and professional. Not even close.
I don't even think that.
I don't even know if that's a debate.
Yeah, it's just so different. There's nothing even comparable to it. Like, the only thing comparable is college baseball and their postseason, but baseball is just not as popular and it's so different. Like, there is nothing as iconic and great as the NCAA tournament. Truly one of the few things that I still feel like I'm 9 years old again.
I do. I have a childlike wonder.
I get like giddy when I see the brackets and I get to fill out brackets. I have my printer pulled out of my closet strictly to print off.
Because you're going to do a paper. You're an old school guy.
I love paper brackets.
Dude,
I love
sometimes
making
I'll do it in the
highlights.
newspaper. Whenever they put it in the newspaper.
So I usually do my one bracket I submit to everything, and then I do a second bracket, and then I'll maybe toss in 2 or 3 more, but I have my one bracket that's the only one I can be judged on.
Yeah.
So because a lot of people submit like 20 brackets.
I just do one.
See, one's that's
one.
man's game. That's man's game. There's one that I submit to every competition.
Yeah.
So like I'm not one that submits a different one to each competition.
I
have one
hate
bracket,
those guys.
One
if
bracket.
you do that, you should be publicly shamed.
But I always do have a serious bracket, and then I have one that it's like I pick all the sexy upsets I want just to see if I can get one of the Cinderellas right.
Yeah.
I never do, but I do like to do it.
Yeah.
So usually my main bracket hits about the 60th percentile every time. But it is what it is. We forgot to say, we're going to do a TDR bracket challenge.
Yes, I posted that on the board.
We
yes.
do not know what the prize is going to be.
But there will be a prize.
We're going to figure it out. Guaranteed, at least, we're going to try to have whoever wins on the podcast.
Oh, hell yeah.
Let's have them on for like 2 minutes.
Hell
and
yeah.
just talk about why they're such a genius and gas them up.
Hell yeah.
But we're going to try to do some type of TDR fan package with Vanderbilt gear, something. I'll put it together. We'll get your address.
We do
whatever.
have a ton of Vanderbilt memorabilia that we could just be like, yeah, we'll give it to you.
Yeah. And we can also give you like a little certificate when we actually get TDR polos printed. And we will send you one of those as well. So,
oh yeah, whenever we do that,
we'll figure something out. But we'll get it going. It'll probably be worth like $100 worth of Vanderbilt gear or something.
You know
nothing crazy, but you'll get bragging rights.
You know what I have that I think a lot of people would like. Whenever I was younger and I went to the 2012 Door Jam, I have a ratty old gold T-shirt that I got the entire team to sign. So it's got Blake. I have an adult small ratty T-shirt that's got Blake Fromank's signature on it. You're not going to want it for Jordan Matthews. You're not going to want it for James Franklin. You're going to want it for Blake.
Do we still have the Stackhouse bobblehead?
No, we buried it at the old apartment.
We did bury it.
We buried him in the yard.
Buried it. I was about to say we should. I forgot we did that.
We buried him in the yard.
Did we ever post that?
No, he's just somebody's. One day
nobody has any idea.
Dude, one day they're going to tear that down for like a development, and they're going to be like, what the fuck is this?
No, that'll probably be in like 2,000 years. And you're like, this is a great symbology. This was a god in their time.
There's Jerry Stackhouse with his head severed.
These people defied their god, and their homes were leveled. We must worship Jerry. We've actually screwed up real badly, but we still have more basketball to talk about, dude. We're going off the rails like we're going to the tequila or the cocktail break.
Dude, what if we just go back to our old apartment, jump the gate? That gate was never locked anyway, so and we just go one night and we just start digging in the yard.
Nobody's even going to question it in that apartment complex. But we have to talk about actually the broader scale. So we talked about
Lord.
Vanderbilt is a lock
for
the NCAA tournament. We got to talk about the broader scale bracketology and why we feel so confident, because it's not just us as Vandy homers. It's Vandy has 20 wins in the best SEC maybe the best conference in the history of college basketball.
Yeah.
Multiple top 25, five, I believe, top 25 wins, a ton of Q1 wins, 0 bad losses. I want to repeat that because that's a big deal.
So what kept Vanderbilt out of the tournament that one year.
Vanderbilt doesn't even have a loss that you're like, it's not that bad. Their worst loss is to a tournament team. They don't have any bad losses. But the other side is all the experts agree with that. I know there's the pessimistic Vanderbilt fan. There's that side of me. I'm commonly quoted as the most pessimistic Vanderbilt fan. My nickname before rivals
What Blanket Will
was What Blanket,
Will.
And I'm confident. So right now you can go to bracketmatrix.com.
Yeah.
There is not a single bracket that does not have Vanderbilt at least in the field of 68. Every single one has Vanderbilt in. It's not even close. Some of the crazy on the edge have Vanderbilt as the last 4 in, but all the mainstream ones have Vanderbilt as a 9/10 seed. Vanderbilt's not in the last 4 in. Some have them as the highest tiered team on the last 4 buys. Most like Jerry Palm, I believe.
Yeah.
But like Joe Lunardi, they're not even on the bubble.
No, I think for Lunardi, they're still a 9.
So it doesn't matter if Vanderbilt doesn't make the tournament. Yes, you are justified in rioting. You are justified utilizing your burner accounts. By the way, the burnerverse is growing.
The Vandy burnerverse is.
I checked out some replies on some opponents' tweets when Vanderbilt won. I saw some accounts.
Some accounts were like, you click on their profile and it was like created 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was created like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
A lot of them when we called for burners.
Yeah.
And it's like following 300 with 7 followers, and it's like Commodore fan. And they just shit post about Vanderbilt. So keep that up, guys.
We love it.
We love seeing that.
It. We love the burnerverse.
We're allegedly. Allegedly we like it. We're not actually calling for you to harass anyone, of course not. But allegedly, we really like the burners. They're very funny. Vanderbilt is finally acting like an SEC fan base.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing malicious about it. It's just like funny. That's it.
Dude, and if I had $1 for every time a UT fan DM me and told me to like kill myself or that they were gonna find me at a game and fight me, dude, I'd have $300.
Yeah.
And nobody's doing anything like that. We're just saying like, hey, your team sucks.
The funnier part is every time that anybody says anything to Vanderbilt fans, I always just want to pull up the 1,000 screenshots of DMs and replies I have from burner SEC accounts, like 60% Vol, but there are a lot of others as well.
The TDR DMs are wild.
They're wild. My personal DMs are wild.
Dude, I've had so many dudes be like, delete yourself in my DMs.
It's one of the things. We're getting way off track. It's going to be a long episode. Who cares? We've been under time crunches recently.
We're not even to an hour yet.
Cool. We've been under time crunches.
We have.
Just bullshit right
now. Just boys being dudes.
Whenever I'll see, like, it's a lot of times, now that I'm getting more into Instagram, I post like once every 4 months on my personal Instagram. It's a lot of people talking about the negativity online and these influencers talking about these horrible comments. I'm like, I have no pity for you. You should see, and I know
you should see what people say to me,
which I'm like, oh, you guys take that seriously. Like to me, it's always been like, I don't even consider the people doing it in bad faith. Like, I'm like, this is the internet.
Yeah,
I grew up on the internet.
This is how it's been our whole life.
Like I have an opinion. Vanderbilt, my team, whoever it is, beats you, and you tell me to kill myself. I'm a worthless piece of shit. I'm ugly. No woman will ever love me. I'm ugly as shit. I'm tough to look at. I'm like, I'm not, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, cool. I just thought that was the internet. I didn't realize.
I did too. Yeah.
Until I got to Instagram, and then, dude, I re-downloaded TikTok, which is no longer banned in the U.S. You're gonna talk about a place that's just separated in a whole different generation that never experienced the real internet. They think Instagram is negative.
Girl, you need to hop on Twitter.
Girl and boy. It's not. It's
and unisex. You need to hop on Twitter.
TikTok thinks Instagram is negative. Twitter, compared to the old school like Xbox Live, Reddit, whatever, is nothing. Twitter is tame, and the crazy.
Twitter was tame to like Twitter whenever we were like in Twitter in high school.
Twitter prior to it becoming what it was, it's getting back more to how it was since Musk bought it. I'm not saying that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm just saying anybody complaining about what's happening to Twitter was never originally on Twitter. Twitter in like 2013, 2014 was
rough.
insane.
Rough.
My parents let me get a Twitter account because they didn't understand what it was.
Same, mine too.
Big mistake.
Dude, if my parents had the wherewithal, they'd have been like, "There's no way in hell we are letting you get it." They thought Facebook. They're like, we don't know about getting him a Facebook, but they were like Twitter. Yeah, and it's not their fault, like you said. Like, but they had no idea. Nobody had an idea.
But I do think it is a good thing because it makes you realize, like, oh, it's like Tyler the Creator, which it's
the famous quote,
one of the greatest quotes of all time. That's so simple and it's so true. It's like cyberbullying. Just shut your computer.
Yeah, just turn your phone off.
It truly isn't real. And I think it's a good thing we're not like 22 because boy, are they in for tough times. Yeah. Because I'm like at 27, about to be 28. I don't give a shit. Like, we just missed it.
There's nothing you can say to me on the internet that's going to upset me.
We're Zillennials. We're in between. We're the last. Gen Z's fucked. Gen Z is screwed. We're fine. We're in between. We're not cringy like millennials. We're also not super sensitive. We're somewhere in between that's like, I don't know what we are. Maybe no emotion is good. I think that's where we're at. We're just numb to everything.
I do think, I will say, the internet, having untethered access to the internet at such a young age has done irreversible damage on me.
It's the quote that's like,
it truly has.
I've seen things at 16 in videos on the internet that were reserved for war veterans with PTSD.
Dude.
And it's like, and we can make fun of it and it's online, but it's like, dude, you saw shit that like you're not supposed to see.
Dude, I was like 14 years old in the car rider line at 7 a.m. watching like live leak videos with my homies before school. Like, I shouldn't have been watching that, but I was like,
oh, what's the mental health crisis? It's like, oh yeah, you've
seen some things.
Your monkey brain cannot differentiate between what you've seen on video on the internet and what you've experienced in real life, even though your prefrontal cortex can.
Yeah.
That's why, guys, I can solve the whole debate for you, Mr. Psychology, Doctor of Psychology. That's why. You're not supposed to see beheading videos at 14.
Yeah,
you're not.
Breaking news. That will mess you up.
All right, we got to get back on track, dude. All right. We've talked Vanderbilt basketball. We've answered premium board questions. We've recapped the 2 losses. We've talked about the SEC tournament. We've given your prediction for winner, which is Auburn.
Yes.
Given my prediction, which is Alabama, which is very funny considering
Iron Bowl.
Vanderbilt owns the state of Alabama.
Indeed.
And we've picked both of them, the 2 teams in that state, to win the tournament.
We'll let our stepchildren have some fun.
We've also discussed Vanderbilt's seeding in the NCAA tournament, that we both believe no matter what, Vanderbilt is a lock. Now we have the TDR cocktail break to get to, and we have baseball to discuss. So grab yourself a cold one if you haven't already with that random tangent we just went on, and we will be right back after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome back into episode 306 of the Door Report. Trevor, we've talked a lot of basketball. Almost said football.
Yeah.
We've not talked any football because we don't know anything about football.
Yeah.
Very tight-lipped. Spring practice started about a week ago.
Yeah. They're taking this week off.
Yeah, they practiced for 1 week, and then they're taking spring break off.
Yeah.
And then back to spring practice.
Yes.
So that's all we know about football. Diego Pavia, still QB1.
Yeah.
Eli Stowers, still a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that is out there, that's all we know. Yeah. Hopefully at some point we will be able to get access to his practice. I don't know, because of work.
I've been in communication with people, and I think like whenever they have Saturday practice, Saturday morning,
I'd love to
because that's also when they do scrimmages.
Okay. Trevor,
so that'll tell you a lot.
Trevor, if you were able to get contact, we already have a good relationship with the football program.
The football seems. I don't want to jinx us. Football right now seems very willing to have us.
That's yes. Football by far.
We have a wonderful working relationship with the football program.
No shade towards the other programs. Maybe a slight bit of shade. We have a great relationship with the football program.
Yes.
As far as we know, they've invited us to a practice last year.
Yeah.
And
A closed
yeah,
practice.
closed practice. Great relationship with them. Football has been very open to TDR and expanding the fan base. Other programs, not quite as much. Basketball actually has been.
Basketball.
Basketball.
This basketball administration has been very good to
Yes,
us.
they've been very good. Baseball has been very closed to us, which is kind of expected.
Yeah.
It's the more established program.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I get it, but yeah, that's
Which,
getting off topic.
which is so interesting. As critical in the past as we've been of football, they've been very like, yeah, dude. Like, I don't want to say who, but somebody on the staff was like, because we were talking about that, they were like, no, yeah, we did suck. They're like, we were bad. Like, we don't want you to say we were good. Like, we were terrible.
We discussed this at one point in the Door Report group. It was maybe in the past when we first started doing TDR, this wasn't the case. Maybe you can pull up something for me when it was like 2021. Maybe it wasn't. But the last 2.5, 3 years, there's zero takes that I have that I would not be willing to say to the person I had the take about them.
Yeah. We haven't said anything personal.
Not
about
saying
nobody.
that they'd be my friend afterwards, but like nothing I feel as I've said is a personal attack.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, is we're going to be critical. And the football program seems to understand that.
Yeah.
I will say baseball, they are kind of the program that the VandyBoys are getting attention no matter what.
Yeah.
Nationally, they have people covering them. Football is the opposite of that. They're looking for coverage, and they're looking for that organic coverage. Basketball somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
They're open to it, but Vandy basketball, if they get good, we'll see how that goes.
They're also with a new staff trying to figure out like sort of what's going on here. Like, got to remember they're still relatively new. I will say, and I hate to keep delaying this, this is something that I've wanted to say for like quite a while now, and we just haven't got around to it. The Vanderbilt Athletics Administration does get a lot of hate. I will say, for us personally, we have been critical of Candace Story Lee. We've been critical of Vanderbilt Athletic Department. The Vanderbilt Athletic Department has been nothing but kind and gracious and working with us. Generally. There have been some previous members that are no longer at Vanderbilt that have not been fans of us.
You haven't been around as long.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yes. But the staff that is there now has been nothing but generous to us.
Yes. The current staff.
There were some previous, though.
Current admin, with how many criticisms I have had of Candace Story Lee, the fact she is still engaging with us whatsoever, I respect the hell out of her for that.
Yes.
So will I still have criticisms moving forward? Sure.
Yeah.
But the current admin has been good. Now, the baseball program, not willing to work with us right now. We'll keep working our asses off. We'll see how it goes.
I'm going to whisper in your ear. This is bad podcasting. I don't know if you can say this. No. Or is that person still here?
We're not talking about that.
Okay.
we're not going to talk about what Trevor just whispered in my ear.
I'm sorry. That's bad podcasting. I'm sorry for
We're not going to edit that
for the
out,
blue balls.
But maybe at some point.
Maybe
we'll
sometime in the
that.
future.
Yeah. How I got sideline field passes to the Georgia game in 2017. We can discuss that at some point. But let's get to baseball. Jesus Christ.
I shouldn't have asked.
I forgot about that.
I wanted to.
Let's get to baseball. So Vanderbilt was coming off a disappointing stretch of games.
Yeah.
Had 2 midweek games scheduled, one against Evansville. That was canceled due to weather. And then they had one against St. Bonaventure. Beat the crap out of St. Bonaventure.
My ex-girlfriend's brother used to play baseball for St. Bonaventure.
Interesting. So they did it for you, Trevor.
Yeah. I have no hard feelings towards her.
But number 18.
Maybe I do.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
But number 18, Vanderbilt at the time, beat St. Bonaventure 14-1.
Yeah.
Not really much to discuss.
Sorry, Woj.
Beat the shit out of an inferior opponent. Just like you want. Bats popped. That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give too much credit, and I'm certainly not giving criticism to that performance.
No. They were supposed to.
Yep. And now let's go to the weekend series against the Xavier Musketeers. Also did kind of exactly what you wanted to see. Started out game 1. The bats popped off game 1. Brody Johnston in particular popped off.
He's hot,
in
man.
game 1. Colin Barzee had a big home run to start things off. Brody Johnston hit a moonshot to Jupiter.
Yeah.
And then hit the grand slam to walk it off.
In the same inning.
Yep. Vanderbilt wins in 7, 15-3. Vanderbilt went on to win the final 2 games of that series, 6-1 in game 2 and won game 3, 4-0. Cody Bowker with another incredible performance on the mound. Cody Bowker seems to be an incredible get for Vanderbilt. But let's get to before we discuss any of these details of the game, I just wanted to get the scores out there. Let's discuss the premium board questions that we have for baseball. So we have not read these. I have not read anything baseball. So let's see what we got. From World's Strongest Vandy Fan. It's a long one. He says, a lot of people have noted that despite criticisms, whether unfounded or not, Corbs did seem to change his approach this year, and the dominoes simply didn't fall due to the staff changes / teams paying more NIL / things that weren't directly within our control. Zerwa, Sasaki, other rumored connections in the portal. Is it a case of too little too late, or will we see dividends with a full year under Blankmeyer? I know with baseball being a spring sport, it can be hard to see the impact in the immediate season following a mass staff change, unlike football, where you can see the change staff in November and have them impact your recruiting crop for the following fall. It's interesting.
That is a really good point, because that has been a common quip.
I do want to add in his he has an also. Also, shout out Lipscomb men, shout out Tennessee Tech women for winning their conference tournaments. Good week for TDR's alma mater / graduate programs.
Hell yeah. Horns up.
Wings
Go
up.
Herd.
Wings up, baby.
Lipscomb going to the tournament for the second time in school history.
Tennessee Tech women's basketball is a very good history.
Oh, are they really? Do they really?
Yeah. Basically everything hanging in the rafters is Tennessee Tech women's basketball.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I don't know that much about them, but I had a lot of finance classes with one of their players at the time who's now married to a buddy of mine. Great girl. Yeah, so I have
great
shout out to the Tennessee Tech women's basketball team. Yeah. Can't say I've watched a game, but hell yeah, wings up.
Yeah, shout out to the Lipscomb men's basketball team. Joe Anderson, Will Pruitt, Mount Juliet, Golden Bear legend.
Bear Pride, Mount Juliet High, baby.
Lenny Acuff, shout out to Joey
Hometown
Dwyer.
hero, Will Pruitt.
Well, yeah, hey, shout out to Lenny Acuff and Joey Dwyer.
Sorry, I just got to keep shouting out Will Pruitt because I also played for Mount Juliet.
Yeah, so you did. A teammate of yours.
No, not a teammate. I was teammates with his brother.
Oh,
yeah, his brother. Well,
shout out to the Pruitt
was
family.
A sophomore when I was a senior.
Shout out to the Pruitt family, but yeah, dude, proud to be a Bison. Go Herd.
But getting to his original question about some people saying Corbs did change his approach, I just disagree with that. Like at its core, I understand what they're saying. He's approaching the portal more.
I agree.
But he didn't change.
I agree.
He's adapting in the ways he has to adapt. He brought in Bowker as a pitcher. He brought in Mancini, but he didn't overhaul a lot. He still brought in Johnston, who's popping out as a contributor. He's a freshman. That's the same thing he's done in the past. He brought back Vastine, brought back RJ Austin. Like, he's adjusted slightly, but not to the extent that you wanted to see.
I agree. And that's my exact take.
Yeah, so I think he has adjusted. I'm not
but
the
it's
one.
Not enough.
I'm not the one calling for Corbin's job, and I don't think Trevor is either. Maybe
if they don't make the tournament, I think it's time to go. I'll say that right now. If they don't make the tournament, it's time to go.
So another baseball question. Vanderbilt baseball has added some impressive transfers, including Mendez from Dayton, Mancini from James Madison, Bowker from Georgetown. Fennell from Dayton, Hawks from Air Force, O'Rourke from Stanford for this 2025 team. We are expecting Corbs to rely more heavily on the transfer portal for the upcoming 2026. What will Vanderbilt do differently in the future to sign these stud hitters and pitchers? Is it easier for Vanderbilt to acquire a home run hitter or a dominating pitcher from the transfer portal? I know my answer to this question off the rip.
I know my answer.
I don't want to step on your toes. Number one, pitching is so much easier to scout and evaluate and get into your program.
I agree.
96 mile per hour fastball is a 96 mile per hour fastball.
Yeah,
a sick cutter is a sick cutter. A disgusting changeup is a disgusting changeup.
Yep.
That transfers. That's why you see pitchers going so high in every MLB draft.
Yep.
You can scout that. Batting is harder to scout because it's so much more related to the quality of pitching. Is it the swing? And there's all these questions of what is a beautiful swing. And that's why you have Moneyball versus the old school. He's got a great swing. He's just got to put it together.
And they're like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's that's why it's tough.
Yeah.
So Vanderbilt just has to take more swings at batters. Excuse the pun there, but they have to take more swings on guys like Mancini.
Yeah.
Pitching, I love what they've done with pitching. Getting Bowker, great. Getting Hawks, great. All that is great. But the big concern for Vanderbilt based on this last year, pitching was not great. But pitching has always been there for Vanderbilt. It always will be there. Batting is what the concern was, and they brought in one transfer that could address that, and it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I will say.
Am I missing something?
No, and I will say too, in regards to for Vanderbilt specifically, why it's so much easier to get a pitcher is it's sort of what you hit on. Is Vanderbilt has built their MO as a baseball program on being a program that not just turns out Major League Baseball players, but they turn out elite pitchers. They turn out David Price, Carson Fulmer, Kyle Wright, Sonny Gray, all these guys. And that's been their MO. They were the first to adopt TrackMan and really adopt spin rate and Rapsodo into how they train their pitchers. I mean, they have a pitching lab that was the first in the nation. So they've built their MO on being like, if you can pitch, Vanderbilt is your spot. And so I think if you're a young high school baseball player in the travel circuit, you still think of Vanderbilt as that elite pitching school to where if you want to make it to the big leagues as a pitcher, you go to Vanderbilt.
Yep.
They haven't really had that as I mean, they've had Pedro Alvarez, they've had JJ Blade,
Dansby.
they've had he wasn't even really like a home run cranker, but like Spencer Jones, like you've had those guys, but like for every one guy you've had like that, you've had so many other pitchers. So I think just their MO is they produce pitchers. And Scott Brown, I mean, that's Scott Brown. DJ, who's the pitching coach for the Cincinnati Reds. Vanderbilt guy was the pitching coach for Vanderbilt for so long. Like, that's their MO is pitching.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing when you see football programs that churn out specific positions. Oh, you got to plug in some. Yeah, it's the same idea. You don't see it with basketball because basketball is such a positionless sport now. It's much more adopted the European style of positionless sport. Baseball's a little different. You're completely split between pitching and your batters / fielders. And so Vanderbilt, like Trevor said, is a pitching program. That's what they've developed. And also, like I said at the beginning, the main thing is Bowker has stuff. Pitching translates. Your stuff is your stuff. It doesn't matter what batters you're facing. Your stuff is measurable. Versus hitting is correlated to the quality of pitching you're playing against. And that's the number one problem is it's not so straightforward of just this guy hit 440 at Dayton and he hit 23 home runs. That's going to translate to power and hitting 350 at the SEC level. That's not as straightforward versus Bowker was a stud at Georgetown. He's going to be a stud at Vanderbilt. That translates a lot easier. So that's a very simplified explanation as to why that is. But also Corbin just has to take more swings. It's kind of like what we say, you're flipping a coin when you draft a quarterback in the first round as an NFL team. You're flipping a coin when you sign a quarterback as even a 4-star at an SEC football program. That's kind of more like batters. Like you just got to get the quantity more than necessarily just focusing in on one or two quality fill-in players. Yeah. And that's where Corbin has to adapt. You got to bring in less freshmen, got to bring in more transfers. So that's the last baseball question we had. Vanderbilt swept Xavier. Pitching was good. Bowker looked really good. Bats popped game one. Overall, I don't think it answered any questions.
No, I will say, though, about Xavier, traditionally good base, or not traditionally, but as of late, really good baseball program. They also have the number one strength of schedule in all of college baseball. So they've gone up against a lot of quality opponents. If anybody remembers, Xavier is the one who knocked out Vanderbilt in the last national regional. So good baseball program.
Yep. The sweep of the weekend series and the one over St. Bonaventure moves Vanderbilt to 13-3 on the season. One more midweek game against Valparaiso, and then SEC play starts very quickly. Vanderbilt has Auburn
this weekend.
Vanderbilt moved up from number 18 to number 16 in the current rankings, but Vanderbilt plays number 25 Auburn at Auburn this weekend. Everybody talks about, separating, finding out your roster, separating the men from the boys in non-con play. This is when you start separating the men from the boys. SEC play has started. There's no more hiding. There's no more whatever. You played in this crackerjack ballpark. You're playing this crap competition. Of all programs that you hear criticisms, now it's time for rubber to meet the road. Now it's time to everybody's playing high-quality competition, and you're going to learn what this Vanderbilt team is. So all this has been a lot of projection, a lot of us guessing, positive or negative. You're going to know. You're not going to know in this Auburn series. It's just one series, but within a month, you're going to know what this Vanderbilt team is.
Yep.
So in 28 days or 30 days, we're going to be on here knowing fully what this team is. Something exciting about that. But most Vanderbilt fans, I want to circle it back, are still focused on basketball.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. For the first time since we started the TDR, we are talking about basketball going into the NCAA tournament and the SEC tournament. Postseason play, not just in our grasp, in Vanderbilt's grasp. It's a lock.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's going to be playing in the NCAA tournament, and that is music to my ears, Trevor. You can't bring me down from that.
So weird that for the first time in TDR history this past football season, got to talk about postseason play for Vanderbilt football. And for this year, the first time in TDR's history, get to talk about meaningful. I'm not counting the NIT, but March Madness for Vanderbilt. So it feels weird.
Feels weird.
It feels weird.
Feels great. Trevor, you got anything else you want to add on episode 306?
Now, horns up for the Bison, horns down for the Longhorns.
There we go. Wings up and horns down. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host, Trevor Hulan, and our producer, Phoebe, this has been episode 306 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.